Hello and welcome to this nutrition lesson titled Reading Food Labels. My name is Marlene Beachy. In your food box, you may have received a handout that looks something like this. And if you did, you're welcome to take it. It may be easier to read than the visual I will be holding up, but if you don't have it, no problem. To begin with, I would like us to look at a jar of pasta sauce. And on this jar of pasta sauce, you may be able to tell, if I get a little closer here to the light, that there's a nutrition facts panel here that's in this rectangle, and there's also an ingredient list here. And the important thing to note about an ingredient list is that the ingredients are listed in according to weight, with the heaviest first, which means the very first ingredient that's listed is the most in that product. And the way that that could be really helpful to you is as we think about wanting to reduce fat and sugar from our intake, we want those foods, those ingredients that contain a lot in fat and sugar, to be after the third or fourth ingredient on the list. So kind of low, if not at the very end of the list. The other thing to note is that every food that is sold in the grocery store that has been packaged or manufactured in any way has to have a label of the nutrition facts and the ingredients. So look for those labels. Look for that grid, that rectangular grid. If by chance you buy something in a box, the nutrition facts panel may be in a rectangle like this, and then there's the ingredients listed below. It might look something more like that. So look, you'll find it if you ever want to use it. It has to be on each package. Okay, let's move on and look very specifically here at a nutrition facts label. First thing I want to point out is that the serving size on this is 1 1/4 cups. There is no standardized size that manufacturers have to use in labeling their food as to what the serving size is. So the important thing to note on that is if you want to compare the same product but different brands, you need to be very careful that they have chosen the same serving size, or your comparison numbers will need to be adjusted accordingly. If it's the same serving size, then you could just compare number to number and know exactly where you're at. The other thing to note on serving size that's important is that the serving size you are intending to serve or eat yourself? And if it's the same size that you're intending, wonderful. And if you're wanting to serve 6 people, because this servings per recipe or package or container, whatever it is, serve 6, it would be the perfect size. If you want to serve less, then you could serve more than 6 people. If you want to serve more than 1 1/4 cups of this package, then it would serve accordingly. Okay, moving on down. Calories is 220 calories. And in general, most people require around 2,000 calories a day. It could be more, it could be less depending on your lifestyle, but that's just kind of a general ballpark. So this is contributing 220 calories of energy to your lifestyle out of the 2,000. And of all of those calories in this product, 40 of those calories are from fat. So when you think about 2,000 calories a whole day and then 40 is from fat, probably it's not going to be a significant contribution of fat, but we don't really know that until we look on down at the nutrition facts panel, and we'll keep looking down and we'll get to that right here. So of the total fat, it's 4.5 grams. And of the saturated fat, it's 0.5 gram. Trans fat is 0. Trans fat being 0 is perfect. We don't want any trans fats. Saturated fat, 0.5 gram, that's not bad. Over here it's 3%, that's not very much. Now these numbers may be a little confusing, like how do you use those? But the one thing I want you to remember is a 5-20 rule. Any of these ingredients that are listed that are 5% or less are not considered a significant contribution to your dietary intake. If it's 20% or more, then it's considered significant. So looking at this, 3% is a lot less than 5. Saturated fat is not a significant source of saturated fat. The total fat being 4.5 grams is 6%. That's just a little above 5, probably still not super significant. The other thing I want to point out is of these two numbers added together, it's just 0.5 gram. And yet this label is saying that it has 4.5 grams of fat. That just is simply because these are 2 types of fat, and there are many types, and it means the other 4 grams of fat are another kind of fat. Hopefully, probably the good kind of fat. And we will talk more about fat and the types of fat later on in another lesson. Cholesterol is 15 milligrams, and this is 5%, and that is not a significant contribution of cholesterol to your diet. Sodium, which is what we would be checking to know how much salt is in this case is 20%. So, according to the 5-20 rule, it is a significant contribution of salt to your nutrient intake. So if I were wanting to reduce my salt intake, I might look at another brand and see maybe it has less sodium. It is totally up to the manufacturer as to how much sodium they add to any product. Or you might look for another product labeled salt-free or less sodium. But even if it says less sodium, you still need to compare the numbers because less is so general, it's not really telling you less compared to what. Total carbohydrate in this product is 40 grams, which is 15%. It's a little less than 20, so it's not super significant, but it's further away from the 5, and so it contributes a nice amount of carbohydrates. And of the 40 grams of carbohydrate, 7 grams are dietary fiber, and that is 25% of your total fiber needs for the day. And that is above 20%. That's excellent. 25% would actually be 1/4 of the fiber that you need for the whole day. That's very, very good. Sugar is 8 grams. Again, we're trying to reduce sugar. That's probably not super significant, but we don't really know. They don't put a percentage over here. And that's because there's no amount of sugar that's recommended. So you'll just have to decide if 8 grams is acceptable to what your goals are for how you want to eat. If you add these two together, it comes to 15, and yet it says there's 40 grams. Once again, there's many different kinds of carbohydrates. So this is just listing dietary fiber and sugar, but then there's also starches. So the rest is made up of starches. Protein is 8 grams. We do need protein in our diet every day. I don't know why they don't list the daily value on this. Some labels do and some labels don't. I don't know why. If you ever find out why, I would love to know, and then we'll both know. Moving on down, we see a vitamin A here, and calcium, vitamin C, and iron. Vitamin A is 20%, according to the 5-20 rule. That's very good. Calcium is 4%. That's less than the 5. Not a significant contribution of calcium, although better than none. Vitamin C is 60%. That is excellent. So this actually gives you more than half of the vitamin C that you need every day. And iron is 10%. Again, that's not super significant, but it is better than none. So in closing, I would like to remind you of the general principle that we are following to choose healthy foods to support our health. And that is to eat a wide variety of foods every day from every food group in moderation, focusing on vegetables and whole plant foods. Thank you for joining me today. And if you have any questions or concerns or ideas, please share them. And until we meet again, happy healthy eating to you and your loved ones.